Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. So, Trump has not been president for a month yet, and already he's announced his first invasion plans of the Middle East. He talked about rebuilding Gaza, removing the unexploded bombs, even sending in the US military if needed. No, not in pursuit of the two-state solution, not for the benefit of the Palestinian people, but because the property developer likes the idea of owning prime beachfront property. Donald Trump said America will own Gaza. All this talk over the last few years about whether Russia would kickstart World War III. After all, there are pathways where they gain from global chaos. But who would have thought that America, the country winning the global race under the current system, would want to smash the world order which made them the premier superpower? But first, for daily political commentary, please hit the subscribe button to stay notified. So, the media universe has a twisted sense of humour. See, browsing the news when I woke up, I do this. I look at the news in the morning. I have done it for a while, but particularly at the moment because I'm constantly thinking, right, what's Trump said while I've been asleep? You know, time zone differences. And, part of it's looking at the Guardian's website, and it has this feature which showcases the 10 most viewed articles. One of them had the headline, "Scientists find that things really do seem better in the morning." But when I woke up this morning, the first thing I saw was the subject of discussion in 4 of the remaining top 10 stories on the site. Donald Trump thinks America should take over Gaza, own it even. He said that. And use military might if necessary. And what would that military might be used for? Would it be used to protect Palestinians from Israel? No, the opposite really. Forcibly removing the Palestinians whose home they want to keep. But Trump doesn't see this in terms of countries and nationality and invasions. He's a particularly emotionless and intellectually limited property developer. He sees what he thinks is prime beachfront property that he would like to develop. He sees the Palestinians in Gaza as homeowners in the area. And he's looking at them going, well, your house has been bombed to shit. It's just bricks. You don't want that. And he thinks all he has to do is make them an attractive offer and they will move somewhere else so that they can have a nice new home. He can have the land for what he is calling the Riviera of the Middle East. Everyone wins. That's his level of thinking. There's no malice as such. He just has no concept of anything. Not nationality, not anything. And you think about this man. How can he not understand nationality? He's someone who rose to power on the back of nationalistic fervour. But he simply used it as a tool. He doesn't share his own ideology. He is motivated by money. He'd already suggested that Palestinians should just move to neighbouring countries and America would help build the homes there necessary. Again, a sign that he just doesn't see countries. He just sees land. He sees an impoverished people living on what he considers valuable land, and he can't distinguish between another country and just some part of New York where it's like, we don't want to live in that slum. I'll pay you money. Go and get a nice house and I'll develop it into a casino or something. And he can't understand why they wouldn't want to move in return for good housing and a lack of bombs raining on their heads. And this basic incapacity for seeing the world as it really is, especially in, what is arguably the most politically sensitive part of the world, is going to wreak havoc. The hope now is that Trump will not be allowed to just invade Gaza or that he gets bored with the idea and leaves it alone. That America has its limits. Trump, while sat next to the visiting Benjamin Netanyahu, who was grinning like a Cheshire cat at all this, said that everyone he'd talked to about it loved the idea, implying that that included the heads of government of neighbouring countries. Now, you don't need to know what private conversations he's had with Saudi Arabia, Jordan and Egypt to know this is bullshit. Saudi Arabia has publicly said there will be no peace with Israel without the Palestinian state being implemented. Jordan and Egypt have closed their borders to refugees from Gaza, because the Israeli government has actually been attempting Trump's plan without saying so out loud. So as disappointing as it might be for Trump, 2 million Gazans are not going to spread themselves around neighbouring countries because Trump promises to build them a home there. I mean, especially for Jordan, how's that going to work? They're quite a small country and they're very poor. What's going to happen if they suddenly expect to take their share of 2 million Palestinians? There's only about 11 million of them to begin with. You know, the Palestinians are Palestinians. They want to live in their home. Some Americans in Congress are already calling this ethnic cleansing by a different name, which I guess, you know, at the moment I can see that. I'm not a legal expert, but if you want to forcibly displace Arabs living in Gaza and populate it with what Trump euphemistically called the world's people, then that would be ethnic cleansing. But I guess you could argue that right now Trump is talking about this being a financial transaction, just like a standard property development, that he wants Palestinians to choose to live elsewhere and those elsewhere places will accept them in return for him providing American money for the homes. But his statement that he's prepared to use the US military to enforce it, and the fact that he has said America will own Gaza, would surely make this actual ethnic cleansing if he ever went ahead with it. You know, there have been warnings that this will only empower Iran. And it's like, yeah, of course it will. When you are threatened, you rally around the banner. So at the moment, Trump is threatening the Middle East. He's threatening Arab countries. He's threatening Palestine primarily, but he's even threatening neighbouring Arab countries with having to take in a load of people who don't really want to live there and are going to be really pissed off about it and foment like rebellion, not against those Arab countries, but still, I mean, there's not going to be peace with that sort of outcome. Trump has just announced that America intends to invade Gaza and retain it as their property. There wasn't even a suggestion that it would be the 53rd state, you know, after Canada and Greenland, just property to be owned by America. No doubt with the Trump Towers right in the middle of the whole thing. Even Saudi Arabia, America's staunchest ally in the Arab world, cannot countenance this. Absolutely insane that Trump is once again playing into the hands of those who most hate America and most want to see it fail. And Netanyahu, again, sitting there grinning like, you know, he'd been on the space cakes. But I keep saying, like, how does Israel, or those who are pro-Israel, see this as a good thing? Israel will have peace in the Middle East by being peaceful. Yes, there are people who will never be peaceful with them, but the vast majority just want to get on. There can be no peace via these sort of actions, only domination. It is a strategy of dominating. And the problem with that is, what happens if something weakens that domination? At that point, Israel just ceases to exist. You know, the ethnic cleansing, which has already been prosecuted in Gaza, along with Trump's plans, if he ever advances them, can only move us closer to that breaking point. Everything Netanyahu has done in government has made his people more vulnerable, not stronger. The same applies to Trump. He's going to weaken America, and once that happens, there'll be a lot of difficult to foresee consequences as the world reorders itself. Because I saw a quote in one of the several articles on this in The Guardian alone, from the Council on American Islamic Relations. If the Palestinian people were ever somehow forcibly expelled from Gaza, this crime against humanity would spark widespread conflict, put the final nail in the coffin of international law, and destroy what remains of our nation's international image and standing. And I agree entirely with that statement. Countries can lead the world in one of two ways. The first is by domination, as happened during the world's imperialistic history. That's how sort of the British and other various European empires functioned, right? Domination. The second is by example, which is the method that sort of emerged after the Second World War when we decided, yeah, invading other countries, it doesn't actually do us any good. So you convince other countries to respect the international rule of humanitarian law by pointing to the economic benefits of not having constant wars, right? And you lead by example. America already suffered in this leading role by supplying Israel with weapons during the siege of Gaza. But it was Israel who chose to use them on civilian populations, not America. But imagine what will happen if it's American bombs delivered by American forces on those civilian populations. Because that's what Trump's talking about. I mean, that would surely be it. And it won't be Netanyahu laughing at the end of it, though Putin and Khomeini might be having a bit of a chuckle. But, I mean, let's keep it in perspective for now. This might be no different to when Trump was talking about injecting bleach to cure COVID or the wall with Mexico. He has a history of letting his mouth say what his excuse for a brain is thinking, and it doesn't always turn out to be something he's thought about in detail and has committed to. He is obviously still going to give Netanyahu license to do whatever he wants, so there's still no obvious end to what even Trump called the hellhole that is Gaza. But this most extreme end game could just be Trump talking shit, because that's what he does. But people should still take it seriously, because Trump seems to think that in his second term, he is immune to consequences. Now, we saw how dangerous this attitude is when Boris Johnson was Prime Minister. But when he asked to invade the Netherlands, the British military told him to stop talking shit. I am less confident that the US military will do the same with Trump. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe for further content. If you'd like to support the channel further, you can click the join button for memberships. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.